Hello and welcome to Devil's Advocate. After a spate of scams and scandals, how badly damaged is the government's credibility and integrity? That's the key issue I should explore today with the Corporate Affairs Minister, Salman Khurshid. Salman Khurshid, in just 3 months, your government has been hit by a series of CWG scams, the Adarsh scam, and now the 2G spectrum scam. Can you accept you face a very serious situation?
Well, to begin with, these are long gestation things, right? There are things that happen or began many years ago or many months ago, and they've come to a stage where everyone's making a big noise about them. We've reacted, and you know what we've done in Mumbai, but that's not to say that scam is a very difficult word. That's not to say that it's corruption. There may be error of judgment, there may be something that's unacceptable, but to actually say it's a scam, I imagine will be a little bit excessive.
No, these may be long gestation, but the truth of the matter is that many people today perceive that there is a dark cloud covering the government's credibility and integrity. Can you deny that?
Well, I'm not saying that this is something that we would have wanted to see and that we welcome it.
Is this embarrassing?
I think it's an irritant.
Just an irritant?
I certainly think that we shouldn't have had it. I certainly think it's an irritant because we are looking at the larger picture. We want transparency, good governance in this country. We've done an enormous amount towards that, what with the RTI and what with various other things that we've done. And then to be dragged back because of something like this, it's an irritant, but we'll get over it.
Would you go further? Would you say this is embarrassing?
It's disconcerting. I think it's troublesome, but we will get over it because I think our leadership is clear that this is not something we want to cover up. This is not something that we want to put under the carpet, but we want to face it boldly, courageously, and transparently, and get rid of whatever is wrong, whatever has caused it. Must be exercised.
You say you want to face it courageously and boldly. Let's then begin by focusing on A. Raja. He's been seriously indicted by the Controller and Auditor General for causing a loss of over 1.7 lakh crore to the Exchequer. His ministry has been raided by the CBI. The Supreme Court has passed adverse comments on his continuing in office, and Parliament has been brought to a halt by the opposition. Hasn't the time come for this minister to step aside?
Now, I think this is something on which 100 voices are not going to be helpful. This is a matter that is in the cognizance of our Prime Minister and the high echelons of government. They're looking at it, and I think Mr. Raja himself is conscious that this matter has risen to a level where we need to find a resolution. But I think for me to suggest that this is the right thing to do or that's the right thing to do on the eve of a serious consideration of what should be done would not be fair.
Except that speed is of the essence. If it was appropriate for Ashok Chavan, who constantly protests his innocence, to have to step down as Chief Minister of Maharashtra because it would have looked wrong for him to continue, surely that same logic applies to A. Raja. Why are you delaying doing the obvious and necessary thing?
Well, there are two things. There is a kind of directive that can be issued to your own party people and a discipline that you have within your own party, and there's another thing that you have to do vis-a-vis your alliance partners. Now, your alliance partners may agree with you on a lot of things, but they may not agree on everything. Their perceptions may be different. That's why they're in a different party. So obviously, it requires more in terms of taking a decision that involves an alliance partner than it does with your own party. And I think this should be to our credit that we have, in the case of our own party, been acted with alacrity, acted with such promptness and with a definite sense of purpose.
Is your government in touch with Karunanidhi requesting that either A. Raja step down or at the very least he changed to another ministry? Has that been done?
I think this is something on which it would be unfair for me to comment, but I think it's reasonable to expect that at some level there has been and would be some contact between alliance partners to find a resolution to a problem that's becoming a serious problem because Parliament does not function. Now, whether it's right for opposition to create a situation that Parliament doesn't function or not, that's another question.
Except that at the moment, A. Raja seems to have become a tug of war between the authority of the Prime Minister on the one side and the adamant insistence of Karunanidhi and the DMK that he won't resign on the other. Is the Prime Minister so weak that he can't enforce his will?
The Prime Minister was not even here. Prime Minister just come back. He was away at G20, he's just come back, and you know that the Prime Minister has this on his plate, and I'm sure that he will take a view, but you can't push things, you can't preempt things.
But how much time does the Prime Minister need to get his way?
Well, it's not a question of get his way. The Prime Minister has to lead, and the Prime Minister has to find a solution. We can only advise if we are asked to advise, but we can't suggest something that we think is better than what the Prime Minister
Let me tell you why this is so critical for the Prime Minister, because the A. Raja situation leads directly to the Prime Minister and his office. Mr. Raja has repeatedly said that his handling of the 2G spectrum issue had the approval and the authority of the Prime Minister. Now, if Mr. Raja continues, people will conclude that the Prime Minister is protecting Mr. Raja and, worse still, possibly protecting himself.
I think people know very clearly this is an alliance issue. People know very clearly the Prime Minister's office has nothing to do with this, and I think it's very easy for anyone to try and drag the Prime Minister's office into the work that any one of us does in our own respective ministries. I think it's...
Except that Mr. Raja repeatedly keeps saying that the Prime Minister was in approval of what he was doing. The Prime Minister agreed with it, and therefore he's put the ball firmly in the Prime Minister's court.
I'm not even sure that these things go to the Prime Minister's level.
So Raja is lying? So Raja is lying?
I'm not saying. I am saying that what words are spoken and how they're interpreted in the media, and it's be unfair for me to give you a definitive interpretation. Let the Prime Minister take a view.
Except for the fact that the A. Raja issue, very sadly, is not the only problem on the Prime Minister's plate. If you look at the CWG issue, the CVC, the CAG, the CBI, the Shunglu Committee, the Enforcement Directorate are all inquiring into the Sports Ministry, the Urban Development Ministry, the Delhi government, and yet MS Gill, Jayapal Reddy, Sheila Dikshit continue. Once again, questions are being asked whether it's fitting and proper that ministers who are being inquired into should continue to head the ministries that are being inquired.
But I'm not sure that any minister has been inquired into, but yes, CWG...
Their handling of the Commonwealth Games is being inquired into, and they continue while the inquiry happens.
Please understand, handling of something, whether there's inefficiency, delays, bungling, etc., is one thing. The other thing is where there are questions of propriety, or there are questions of probity, and there are questions of corruption.
Aren't questions of propriety important?
I'm sure that on these ministers, what you are talking about, there is no question of any kind which leads to probity or corruption.
Except for the fact that their handling of the Commonwealth Games is being inquired into by at least 4 or 5 different institutions. Should it be the case that they continue to head the ministries while the inquiry happens? It seems to make a mockery of the inquiry.
You will assess anybody's performance. Now, every time you begin to look at the performance.
This is not an assessment. This is an inquiry into corruption allegations about the work done while they were heading those ministries. It's much more.
Separate thing. That's a separate thing. Who is responsible for questionable decisions as far as probity is concerned has nothing to do with these ministers at all. But if you want to judge them for the quality of work and the schedules being maintained or not,
that's inquired into because there was over expenditure, there was corruption, there was delay. All of that means we're talking about matters to do with moral turpitude as well as competence. Is it fitting that they should continue in office while that inquiry happens?
Well, if expenditure and over expenditure is to be a ground, then every time CAG inquires into anything, the minister must go. The ministers will go if there is something which is conclusively found for which they are held personally responsible, which is what we do.
Many will contest that answer. Let me, so that we can move on, accept it for the purposes of this interview. What then about Sushil Kumar Shinde and Vilas Rao Deshmukh? They are as involved in the Adarsh scam as Ashok Chavan. If Ashok Chavan has to move out, why not them? By what logic are they exonerated?
No, nobody is being charged. Ashok Chavan is not being charged with anything. It's not that anybody is charged and anybody is
But it was considered proper that he stepped down. Why is it not proper for these other 2 gentlemen to step down?
There were, please recall, Mr. Deshmukh was requested or asked or directed to step down when he was Chief Minister of Mumbai. But that doesn't mean that he wasn't considered appropriate and given an appointment at the centre. The exact context in which somebody is told you're not to stay here or you should not stay here, or they feel themselves that they should not stay.
But you're missing the central point I'm making. Ashok Chavan was asked to step down because it wasn't thought proper that he should continue. The nature of the charges that he faced was so serious that propriety demanded he step aside. That applies almost word to word to Sushil Kumar Shinde and Vilas Rao Deshmukh, yet they continue.
See, there are two things. There is one when you are in charge of something which itself is unacceptable or perhaps undesirable, because you are a head of government that is looking at something. Another issue is that you're working somewhere else, doing something else, not directly involved.
Except that they are being accused of wrongdoing when they were head of the government of Maharashtra. They had the same job Ashok Chavan does today.
It has been said that a decision they may have taken, or perhaps did take, is a decision that needs to be looked at. Now, every one of us would have decisions that we've taken that somebody can say must be looked at. It doesn't mean that you're going to just stay in the barracks all the time and be called in only when everything is finally settled.
You know what the opposition say as a result? They say that in fact Ashok Chavan's resignation was cosmetic. Very possibly it was a cover-up. It was at best just tokenism. It sounds as if that is probably very close to the truth.
And why doesn't the opposition come clean about what it's doing itself? I mean, I think the opposition, if it wants to set standards, and if it thinks that our standards are inadequate, must first set standards, come out in the public and say, wherever there are questions about us...
Are you as good or as bad as the opposition? Do they determine how you function? Don't you have standards of your own?
We've got our standards. We've applied them. If you think those are inadequate standards, please set higher standards.
Let me put it like this. You say you have your own standards, you apply them, and you suggest with certain pride that those are appropriate standards. Let me point out to you that I'm talking about 5 senior cabinet ministers who are alleged to be involved in scams and scandals. That's 15% of the cabinet strength. If they continue in office, how can you claim to be a clean and honest government?
Well, governments are not based on arithmetic. Governments are based
15% is a sizable percentage.
Please, is there anybody, let's go by some test. The Commonwealth Games as they were performed, the Commonwealth Games as they are seen by people after they are performed, have given India something to be pleased about.
Does that whitewash the corruption?
But no, it doesn't whitewash any corruption. But the kind of things that were said about the Games before we actually went to the
But does that whitewash the corruption?
It doesn't whitewash anything.
So then it's the corruption that I'm concerned about. 15% of your membership of the cabinet is accused and they continue?
If there is something that looks substantive and serious, we take action. Have we not taken action?
Right.
Have we not taken action in Commonwealth Games? We have. But you know, you can't execute a person before you reach the point of a final judgment. But certainly if there's a prima facie case, you take some action.
Let me end this part of the interview there. When I come back, I want to talk about the Prime Minister, because when the government is being accused of dishonesty and corruption, no one is more concerned than the Prime Minister who heads the government. That's in a moment's time. See you after the break. Welcome back to Devil's Advocate and an exclusive interview with the Minister of Corporate Affairs, who is the first minister of this government prepared to speak about the scams and scandals the Manmohan Singh government is facing. Salman Khurshid, let's come to the Prime Minister. Once upon a time, L.K. Advani used to taunt him as the weakest Prime Minister India has ever had. Today, if he cannot even get 1 out of 5 cabinet ministers who are accused of alleged corruption to step down, then it must be the case that he either doesn't want to or he is too weak to do so. Which is it?
Is that your question or Mr. Advani's question?
My question. But Mr. Advani may well want to ask it in Parliament tomorrow as well.
If it's Mr. Advani's question, then I would simply say, Mr. Advani, why don't you just rest for 4 years? You can't, you're so desperate to get back into government that you want Dr. Manmohan Singh to dismantle his own government and offer it to you on a platter. Well, that will not happen.
That wasn't Mr. Advani's question, but he may well ask it. It's my question for now, so let me repeat it. If he cannot even get 1 out of 5 cabinet ministers accused of corruption to stand aside, it either follows that the Prime Minister doesn't want to or he's too weak to do so.
Okay,
Which is
let me give you an answer. First, and I tell you very, very sincerely from the bottom of my heart, the Prime Minister, you cannot say about him that he wouldn't want to take action if he was satisfied that we had reached a stage where action was necessary. First thing. 2, I don't think that it's fair to say that Prime Minister is faced with charges of corruption against 5 senior ministers. There may be questions of propriety of conduct and behavior. There may be issues of responsibility for something that is unacceptable.
In a democracy, those are very important
Absolutely,
concerns.
absolutely. But you don't with every change in the perception of daily opinions of people, drop ministers. You have to assess and reach a point where you think that now, on a cost-benefit analysis, here's a good minister who's run into trouble, where it's best to rest him for a while.
Are you saying really that the Prime Minister needs to gather evidence and then he'll decide whether he'll dispose of ministers? Or are you suggesting, as many will suspect, let sufficient pressure build up and eventually Dr. Manmohan Singh will act?
No. Dr. Manmohan Singh does not act under pressure, I'll tell you. And I think people
Is Sonia Gandhi staying his hand?
No, not at all.
In fact, is he a free agent or is she the one who decides?
You'll be surprised very critically what meeting of minds there is between the two. The decisions, when they are taken, will be taken. And the meeting of mind doesn't mean that Mrs. Gandhi is put away and told that, look, this is government, don't interfere. She is the leader of our party. She gives the direction. She gives the sense. And I think Dr. Manmohan Singh is the first
Who
one.
decides whether a minister continues in cabinet or not? The Prime Minister or Mrs. Gandhi?
I think they decide together. And I
Isn't
think
that an
no matter
infringement
how-
of his prerogative?
No, it's not an infringement of his
She's not Prime Minister, he is.
Of course, he's the Prime Minister. He must take responsibility. But she's the leader of our party. She's a leader to me.
So he
as
defers
much-
to her.
She's a leader to me as
So
much
he
as she
defers
is
to her.
But he said that so publicly. He said that so publicly, and she respects him for his quality, caliber, and his honesty.
And she respects him because he defers to her, no doubt.
No. We all defer to her. It doesn't mean that she will make.
So the
make
real
us Prime
power in
Minister.
India is Sonia Gandhi, not Dr. Manmohan Singh.
The real power is the Congress party headed by Mrs. Gandhi.
That's Sonia Gandhi's real power then.
Who, in consonance with the rest of the party, has anointed him as the Prime Minister. And he's doing a good job, and we all believe he's doing a good job.
Sonia Gandhi's real power, you just said that.
Of course, everybody knows that. Everybody knows that she's real power, but he's the real Prime Minister. And I think it's important, and it's
Very
important for this country.
interesting distinction. Sonia is the real power, Manmohan Singh is the real Prime Minister. All right, I think that's so telling, I won't even comment on it. Let's come to a second issue. Mr. Raja has repeatedly said that his handling of the 2G spectrum issue had the approval and the authority of the Prime Minister. Hasn't the time come for Dr. Manmohan Singh to clarify whether this is true or whether this is false?
I don't think that this makes sense at all to me to begin with, but I'm sure that at an appropriate time...
What doesn't make sense to you? Forgive me.
It doesn't make sense to me for any one of us to be saying that this has the approval of Prime Minister.
All the more reason then for the PM to clarify.
So I am saying that there will be an appropriate stage at which the Prime Minister will, he is broad-shouldered, he can and he does.
This has been going on for almost 2 years. When will the appropriate time come?
No, but when you don't react to everything in that moment it's said.
Can I interrupt and quote you what the Prime Minister said 13 months ago in Thailand at a press conference?
Yeah.
He said, I do not want to join issue with my minister. The word join issue suggests there's a difference between them. And yet the Prime Minister won't clarify the difference.
Doesn't that make sense? And now you want me to join issue with someone? If the Prime Minister has said, Prime Minister will take a decision. He doesn't have to join issue with anyone. He will take a decision, and I do believe that the Prime Minister values his own standing in this country, and I do believe that the Prime Minister has a complete commitment to transparency and a complete commitment to probity, and he will take a decision at the appropriate stage, which I think you will applaud.
Well, you say the Prime Minister values his standing in this country. That is exactly the question today. The Prime Minister's integrity is at stake.
Prime Minister's integrity will never be at stake. Prime Minister's integrity will never be undermined. But the Prime Minister is not going to be pushed by people to say, we want you to take a decision now, or we want you to take a decision in this manner. I think as I said, he has broad enough shoulders to take a decision when he wants to.
Salman Khurshid, a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.